Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Arna Sahu, host of Arna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today on episode 54.
There's a quote that I just used today in my effective communication class at Stanford, and I was talking about why it's so important not just to do, but to speak, and the combination of being able to do both. The combination of doing really good work, but teaching others, showing others, broadcasting it, talking about why it's significant. That will help you not be the best kept secret in your organization. And I don't want these amazing people to be the best kept secret in any school, organization, company that they join. I want everybody to know how special and invaluable they are. So that's kind of something that just comes to mind right off the top of my head.
Today on episode 54, I'm pleased to announce our guest, Nita Singh Kaushal. As a founder of Miss CEO, a company that delivers world-class leadership training, mentorship, and career exploration opportunities while training over 100,000 students and professionals from all around the world while bridging the gender gap in leadership, and is also a lecturer in the School of Engineering at Stanford University. Her specialties include leadership development, education, and product management and marketing. So thank you so much, Nita, for being here today. Before we dive into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
I think you did a pretty good job there, Arna. So, like you said, I am really passionate about empowering young women to be leaders and innovators. And I've been spending, I think, the past decade or so doing work both educating, creating curriculum, working with different companies and organizations so that we can empower girls and women of all ages to reach their leadership potential. And before all of that, I'm a Bay Area native like yourself. I grew up in San Jose, California. I went to Leland High School. I went on to Stanford, where I studied electrical engineering. So my roots are very much technical. And I think that a lot of my work at various companies early in my career really influenced the path that I'm now on, because I saw so much opportunity to help both educate and empower women and just people of all backgrounds to participate in such an exciting field.
Yeah, it's amazing to see another local here and talk to them.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so my first question for you is, tell us a bit about your career path.
So, as I mentioned, I think I've done a lot of different things. I've worn a lot of different hats. Looking back, I guess it's, as the Steve Jobs quote goes, you can connect the dots looking backward and see how it all kind of comes together. So I started my career in tech. I was working in the lab, the wireless lab specifically at Intel, working on mobile chipsets, and very excited to now see a lot of the things that we were once dreaming of in terms of phones and laptops have now become reality. So I got to see kind of the early days of that movement. I also was very interested in terms of like technology and how it impacts business decisions and working with different stakeholders in complex companies. So I've had experience working as a product manager, product marketing, operations, and that really gave me an appreciation of all of the different decisions that have to happen in a big company to ship, a world-class product. So saw a lot of that. But as I mentioned in my introduction, and as you've mentioned in terms of my background, there were a lot of things that I wish I had learned formally in the classroom that I think would have really helped me navigate my early career. Skills such as how to advocate for myself, how to effectively communicate, how to find the right mentors, the right sponsors, how to work effectively with others. And I saw that a lot of my peers were struggling with the same skills and especially women who whether it was because of an unwelcome, hostile work environment or biases and stereotypes, they were also trying to figure out how to get recognized for their efforts and assert themselves. So I started to get really interested in terms of the practical skills that were working for people who were able to advance in their careers. And that really helped me both participate in a lot of these forums and organizations that were doing work to promote women in leadership and women in STEM. But at the same time, I saw an opportunity as I got more involved because I still struggled with, and I'm sure, Arna, tell me if this is true for you. Like, you can watch an inspiring TED talk or an inspiring speech, but you still try to figure out, how do I put this into practice? Right? It
Yeah.
sounds really good in the moment, but then you go back to your real world and you have homework and you have things to do, and you just go back to being on autopilot. So I was really interested in understanding, okay, this sounds good in theory, but what do I need to do differently? And how do I do it, especially if I'm struggling and I don't have confidence yet in those areas? So, Arna, I just started informally teaching, speaking in smaller meetings, which soon became bigger meetings internally, externally. Different organizations and companies, even my alma mater, Stanford, invited me to come back and share my viewpoints, share my perspectives. And I saw that people were really hungry for this information. And that's really the beginning of Miss CEO. And I decided to formalize kind of the training and the curriculum and the programming. And it's been a wonderful ride ever since. We've had such demand from students of all ages for this type of information. And because we've been around for so long, we've been able to see students who come like early in high school and now they're in their professional careers. And they tell me like how learning these skills help them get through high school, get through college, get their first job. And that's the best feeling.
I love how you're able to see a gap in something, and then although it might have been informal teaching, you still went for it and taught the people something that you were truly passionate about. And even though as it scaled, you were still able to give such an amazing impact. That is amazing and impressive.
Thank you, Arna. And I see that with what you're doing. I mean, it honestly reminds me of my early days because you saw something that you wanted, right, in terms of a program, and you weren't finding it. And you're like, let me just do it. And that's literally how it comes about.
Yeah, I mean, you just find something that you're passionate about, you don't care about the scale, and then you just do it, and then boom, it grows from there.
Absolutely. In a way, I'm really happy that I didn't overthink it, right? Because I think if you spend time like trying to plan it to be perfect and like have all the answers, then you're never going to get started and you get stuck in that analysis paralysis, which is a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, I mean, once you start overthinking, you're gonna be like, maybe I should look at other programs that have it. Maybe I shouldn't create it." And then you just start to be really critical about yourself, and then you just don't wanna do the project anymore.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, so this kind of is a great segue to my next question, which is, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours, and do you have any tips to succeed?
That's a good question. And a lot of people ask me because a lot of people who, let's say they have their day job or they're pursuing something, they see an opportunity to, they want to have positive change or positive impact in the industry or with the people that are struggling with something specific and they don't know where to start. Um, a lot of times, I think people get caught up with having the formal business plan, getting the formal research done, talking to all the people, doing all the research. And like you said, Arna, you can find millions of organizations doing, especially empowerment for women and individuals in STEM. So there's no shortage of programming and offerings out there. But I think what's fun and interesting, if you don't overthink it, is having the confidence and the courage to just try something. And what I mean by try something is like, okay, you may have a vague idea of what you want to see out there. And you have your own spin on it, or your own, just even you doing it your own way will make it a unique experience for those involved. And not thinking too far ahead, like, I need this many people, I need this many users, I need this much money, but just like, how can I test this in a real and valid way? It can be like with literally 5 people, friends and family, people who you trust. and just start talking about it. Share a little bit more about it, your goals. See if they're resonating with this information or whatever it is that you're trying to develop or put out there. And that's, I think, there's a lot of power in just being action oriented. So that's my number one advice. And then as you are taking steps, momentum will be on your side, but at the same time, you will answer things along the way. So all of the like technicalities, all the like formal things you need to put in place to put together a business, you figure it out as you need to. So you kind of put that forcing function in place as you put it out there in the world.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said about just talking to people that may not even have a large scope because it might just be the people that you trust. That's a great way to start off something that you may have never known you could have done because it's kind of like a control experiment where you're trying to see what you're doing and if people actually resonate with that. And even though you might have not planned it through, it's going to give you so much more exposure to what you would have taught initially with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't know until you try. And that's like so true. I know it may sound cliche, but like there's just so many things I would never have figured out or anticipated, challenges and success, if I just didn't start moving. Um, but it did require me to like have small goals every day. And those are so small. It's as small as reaching out to people, having the confidence to send an email, having the confidence to like go to a new event, having the confidence to raise my hand and share my thoughts. And the more and more I did that, the more and more I felt comfortable in my voice. But at the same time, the more and more I saw results. And that was really like a great signal for me to keep going.
Yeah, everybody's small goals, even though it might be very small, just do them every single day.
Yes, absolutely. That's kind of my mantra. With my big goals that I have, both professional or personal, um, I try to do a little bit of it every day. Like it's sort of like a maintenance, even. Sometimes there's a big push, sometimes it's just like a little bit, but I just don't want to break the chain. I want it to be continuous. And and over time, it makes a big difference.
Yes. And what is a common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
Well, because I feel like I wear so many hats. I mean, I have a lot of, my background is technical. I teach at Stanford. I teach 5 different leadership classes to undergrad, graduate students, and professional students. And then I run Miss CEO. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of, misconceptions and myths, but I kind of want to clarify that I think that you don't have to wear one hat in your career. And then sometimes it all comes together in a really, all of your different experiences and having a diverse background can really serve you well. So in my case, I believe having a technical background makes me more effective at what I do. Whether it means when I go into a tech company to empower teach their professional women leadership skills, there's a little bit more credibility there because I've been in their shoes. I know what it's like to work as an engineer. I know the specific challenges and pain points. Or even with the work that we do at Miss CEO, I just have very high expectations in terms of the results and how we're measuring success and the metrics that we're tracking. Because I feel like, especially when you look at a lot of leadership organizations or organizations that focus on soft skills, I feel like the expectations can vary in terms of what they put out there. It's really easy to contribute to the conversation and the noise, but it's very hard to have real impact. And so I strive to differentiate ourselves in terms of the work that we're doing, that it stands for quality, and we're really there to like help people live better lives ultimately.
I really liked what you said. It's okay to wear different hats in your career, and it's also okay to change whatever you want to do because, as you said before, you teach at Stanford, which is amazing. You said you teach 5 classes, so I think that's super impressive. And then on top of that, you run Miss CEO, which is a really cool company. So it's okay if you wear different hats, and it's okay to change things up.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing. And I'm still learning this. I can continue to evolve, right? And we all do. Like, I can focus on one area of my life for some time. And when I want to move on to another chapter, I can give my permission to do that. If I want to find a way to do everything that I'm interested in, I can find a way to do that. Um, So while I find inspiration in what other people are doing and other leaders are doing, I use it more as a way to not necessarily copy their path specifically, but just kind of to understand how did they make their journey their own and how can I do the same for me.
Exactly. It's very well said. And if you could step into my shoes or your younger self, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
So if I can give my younger self some advice, um, and this is hard because of course when I'm much older and I can look back, it's with that perspective that you get as you get older. Like everything is going to work out. It's all going to come together. You will learn things through painful lessons. You will learn things through success, and that's how life is. Um, I think in high school it's really easy to be focused on short-term goals, right, and just trying to get through the week and trying to get through just your everyday. There's a lot of pressure for grades. There's a lot of pressure for classes. There's a lot of pressure to get into college, and I think that dictates a lot of what students do and how they behave. And while there are real requirements and while we want to do well, which makes sense, I do wish if I could talk to my younger self, I wish that I took some time on a somewhat regular basis to explore a little bit, meaning talking to different types of people from different backgrounds, different careers, similar to what you're doing, and getting like both advice and feedback, but also fields that I probably, that I would never do it, but I think there was something to learn there in terms of just like what did they do, how did they do it, how did they navigate both high school, college, and beyond. I think there's a lot of learnings that I could have captured during that time, and just having the confidence to reach out to people, because I think that in high school you're very much in a bubble and you're just like with your friends, you're with your family, you're with your teachers, and that's it. But I think having the courage to set up informational interviews with people in college or teachers or professors or professionals can be both helpful in terms of helping you explore, but at the same time forging connections with people that may one day be able to offer you opportunities that could be exciting.
Definitely being open to learn and what you said right before, finding connections that might be able to give you opportunities in the future. Although I mean, I am a student right now as well, but I feel like there's a lot of kind of pressure on grades and everything, and people
Mm.
kind of focus their times towards that. But just knowing that whenever you have like the free time to say, scroll on Instagram, which I do, it's a little bit of my hobby, which is kind of a problem. But just knowing that you can always reach out to people who have been able to do it before. Like there's so many resources out there, like on LinkedIn, and you can just send an email to anyone, send a message, and maybe they might respond and give you some tips on how you can also succeed and be like them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the big thing. Again, it comes back to being action oriented. I think it's really easy to just be passive and consume content, as we all do. And you can like go on LinkedIn, you can go on social media and just like read what everyone else is doing. And I feel like we have to kind of, okay, let's not spend too much time, right? Like, oh, there's somebody that I read about that's inspiring. Let me see if I can reach out to that person or somebody like that person so I can actually, learn more or be a part of a field that I find interesting. So that's, I think, an interesting way of approaching all of that, because you want to. I think you want to give yourself permission to stretch yourself on a regular basis, and that will be a very good mental muscle for you to exercise, and it will serve you well over time.
I liked what you said. You should give yourself permission to stretch yourself every day. That's a really good quote.
Yes, yes.
All right. And what are the best resources slash books that have helped you find your career path?
Well, I don't know if I can say one particular book helped me with my career path. I love reading. I try to read every day. So there are a lot of wonderful books out there for sure, and authors for sure. I will talk about one book that I like a lot, that I read, and that's James Clear, Atomic Habits. Have you read that?
Yep, I have.
Yeah, I love that book for a lot of reasons, as does a lot of people. Um, I think that there is something really compelling and interesting in terms of figuring out, um, not developing the right habits for the goals that you want to go after is one. The other part of it is time management and managing your effort and energy on the things that you find important. And the other part, and this is something I speak with to my students all the time, as I'm teaching them these leadership skills, that I tell them I don't expect you to be comfortable with negotiation tomorrow just because I taught you it today, right? I don't expect you to be comfortable speaking in front of 1,000 people because I just taught you public speaking today. But what I like about the what the book says about this is focusing on the processes that you put in place. Like my classes and the curriculum that we teach, it's all about what are these steps that we can start to take, or the processes and the organized systems that will produce different outcomes, right? Like let's focus on that. So here's a template you can use. Here are some steps you can take. Here's like the checklist you should follow. Do it and see what happens. And then over time, the more and more outcomes you see, then your identity will feel different, or will change, right? So we all have like certain things that we think about. Maybe, oh, I'm always running late, or I'm always up behind, or I'm not a good public speaker, or whatever those voices are. And that's how I think you slowly rewrite that, by seeing different outcomes. So I like framing it that way. So it takes the pressure off of, oh, I have to take one class and become a different person versus let me keep practicing, keep practicing, keep practicing until I find my voice with this.
Yeah, and I feel like your story is a little bit of a testament to Atomic Habits because you kind of broke things out to little chunks, like what are the small goals I can do? And TLDR for this book, basically, a portion of it says that you should take small steps every single day because at the end you'll be like what 36.5% closer to your goal than if you were to do nothing in a year.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, just like little
Absolutely.
steps every
I'm a
single day.
big believer in small steps. And I think a lot of people get very frustrated when they don't get the outcome right away, or find the success right away, or get that instant gratification, and I think that's a problem. And I think like having patience but belief that these systems will serve you well it's a big part of the journey.
Definitely, because as you kind of progress every single day, or you kind of finish the small goal you had every single week, you're kind of closer to the goal you set out for the year or set out for the month than if you were to do nothing and kind of get burnt out in the middle of it. So just having small actionable goals, but kind of just setting yourself to work towards them constantly is something that's much, much better than just kind of setting out a big goal with no steps.
100%. 100%.
And what do you think is a vital factor that shaped your career? What was your life before learning it? And what was your life after learning it?
A vital factor that shaped my career. Um, I think when I was a few years into my career, I didn't realize the significance of connecting with the right people, meaning sponsors, people who were strategic either in my company or in my industry, and the power that they had in terms of opening the right doors, and providing me with the right opportunities, how instrumental that could be. I wish I had done that earlier in terms of reaching out to them, talking to them, sharing with them what I was interested in, trying to collaborate with them, because I think that really changed the trajectory of my career, in a lot of ways. So I'm a big believer in seeking mentorship, but also seeking sponsorship from strategic individuals, people who um, are they hold some sort of strategic position, or there's somebody of influence in a field that you're interested in, forging some sort of relationship with them, or finding a way to work with them, collaborate with them, volunteer for their whatever cause, and gaining that trust. Because it's not like you're necessarily talking to these people every single day, but in the few times that you do, they can make a big difference in terms of what they connect you with.
I really liked what you said right there, connecting with people and finding the importance of how far it can take you because as you said that what you really wish was finding a way to connect with people and the right people. Um just knowing that although you might not talk to them every single day, the learnings and the guidance that you can get from maybe one small conversation can really help propel something that you might have not started before or thought of and
Yes,
can really help guide your journey.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and because we have some additional time, my question for you is what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career path?
I mean, basically, if I'll be honest, and this is not a plug for Miss CEO, but everything that we're teaching at Miss CEO. So we teach this leadership toolkit that is a lot of the skills that I think would have made a big difference if I was just more aware of exercise on a more regular basis. So this is everything from how to communicate and broadcast my efforts more effectively, how to reach out to the right stakeholders, how to advocate for myself, negotiate paychecks, how to deal with challenges, conflict, failure in a way that would where I could get the learning opportunity and then, move ahead. So a lot of those skills I think come to mind, which is why I'm so passionate about teaching them.
I mean, that's really cool. I love how as you said before, these skills that you've never learned before and you thought that a lot of other people were struggling with, you created a company that kind of collaborated with all of these types of values. And just knowing that if you were able to see these values in your life, they kind of could have taken you much further than you probably are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice when you can reflect on how far you've come and the different decisions you made, and yeah, just the belief that it will come together the way that it should. That's what I remind my students when they are just, kind of stressed out about what the future may hold. I'm I'm pretty consistent in my message that we may have this plan from A to B, but we know that things happen, right? It may not go according to plan. Different obstacles and challenges can show up, but if you are consistent, both in terms of your goal and getting there, and persistent, you will figure out another way to get from A to B. It may not be the path that you originally envisioned, and that's okay. As long as you get to the destination is all that matters.
Of course. And how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within your role?
How do I continue to learn? I think my work forces me to constantly engage with my target audience. So I'm constantly speaking, I'm constantly teaching, I'm constantly interfacing with students and companies and executives at companies. And so just kind of being on the ground doing the work, I'm constantly hearing what they need, the issues that they're having, the skills that they need to develop, and it forces me to kind of figure out the most effective way to teach it. So, a lot of that, a lot of just my own reading and research and staying on top of things. But again, because I'm doing it every single day with very few days off, even on a weekend, I find that maintenance may look like reading or like maybe having a meeting here or there. And I think that keeps me on top of generally what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, like your work kind of surrounds you with a bunch of people and also the problems that come along with it. But you're able to navigate through it and kind of find other ways to fix the issues, which kind of always keep you on your toes.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And my last question for you to sum up this interview is do you have any quotes or mottos that you love to follow and would like to share?
Well, there's many quotes. There's many, many quotes. There's a quote that I just used today in my effective communication class at Stanford, and I was talking about why it's so important not just to do, but to speak, and the combination of being able to do both. The combination of doing really good work, but teaching others, showing others, broadcasting it, talking about why it's significant. That will help you not be the best kept secret in your organization. And I don't want these amazing people to be the best kept secret in any school, organization, company that they join. I want everybody to know how special and invaluable they are. So that's kind of something that just comes to mind right off the top of my head.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Nita, for being here today. Before we end off with the interview, do you have any last words to the audience?
No, I'm so proud of you, Arna. This is amazing. I'm so glad you're putting this out there as a valuable resource for other aspiring leaders. And I just want to tell um, the followers of this podcast to keep showing up, keep believing, keep building these skills, and small steps every day. That's key.
And here are my 3 cents on this episode with Nita. 1, the importance of taking action and trying new things. Nita emphasizes the value of not overthinking things and just trying something. She encourages individuals to have the confidence to pursue their ideas and test them in a real and valid way. Taking small steps and setting daily goals can lead to increased confidence and tangible results. 2, the confidence of diverse experiences and backgrounds. Nita highlights that having a diverse background can serve individuals well in their careers. She believes that all of one's experiences contribute to their growth and effectiveness in various roles. In her case, her technical background as an engineer has provided her with credibility in empowering women in leadership positions. And 3, the power of mentorship and sponsorship. Nita emphasizes the importance of connecting with the right people and seeking mentorship and sponsorship for individuals who hold strategic positions or influence in their desired field. Collaborating with such individuals and gaining their trust can open doors to opportunities and change the trajectory of one's career. Thus, that concludes the episode for this week. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. A free way to support this show is by leaving it a 5-star rating and a review on the player you are listening to. Let me know what you enjoy about this podcast, as it's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Zito, you're listening to Arna Sahu, the host of Arna's News. Toodles!